Okay, got 2/3 of our championship team right here. Congratulations to Roger Penske and the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge, crew chief Paul Wolfe, and Roger. We had you up here on Friday, and I know this has got to be just a terrific moment for you, not only professionally but personally. And congratulations on winning the 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship. Your thoughts?
Well, first I want to thank the media and obviously all the fans that turn out for these races for 38, 39 weekends around the country, and all the folks in our company, some 40,000 that supported us. But I guess this was a plan. We talked about it earlier this week, and we stayed on our plan. Obviously, the man on my left, Paul Wolfe, was a great operator from the standpoint of getting Brad where he needed to be. Pulling this team together, over the last 3 years has been amazing. And for me, it's a goal that I had. You could see that it wasn't easy. You just didn't line up and go today because Chad Knaus and, as I said, the elite group, the Hendricks boys and Jimmy Johnson were very strong today, and they were throwing everything they could at us. So to me, it's something I can't hardly believe right now. I played this race in my mind over the weekend so many times, what could happen, yes or no. But I guess when Jimmy lost that lug nut, I said someone gave us 4 aces right there in our hands. So what we need to do is be sure we didn't drop them. But I just want to thank Paul for the great job he's done in building this team.
And Paul Wolfe, just talk about what it means to be a championship crew chief and just the thoughts about winning here today at Homestead, Miami, winning the championship.
Well, it's obviously very special, not only for myself, but everybody at Penske Racing. And so much has gone into this, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that RP has given me and Brad. And there's been plenty of lists we've passed his way of things we wanted, and it was our job when we got those things to go out there and perform. And I feel like for the most part we've tried to do that. And over the last 3 years we've been able to accomplish a lot of great things. For me personally, I haven't taken a whole lot of time to think about what this means. As we got into the chase, it was taking one race at a time and trying not to think about the championship and getting maximum points that we could and running as well as we could. And it came down to today, to being in the position we were in. Obviously, I was a little disappointed in myself that we weren't able to give Brad a better car today. Definitely made it one of the toughest races in my career to date. And I think a lot of that just shows how tough it is to win at this level and win a championship like that. And to be able to battle with Chad and Jimmy, in this championship even makes it more special to me, just knowing how great those guys are and what they've been able to accomplish. But I don't know, it's going to take some time to sink in, but just real proud of the effort. It was exciting to be able to get Dodge a championship, being they're leaving the sport this year. It was very cool, and all the support they've given us to make this happen over the last 3 years. So proud of the effort, and we'll have to see how I feel tomorrow morning.
Let's start up here with Ed Hinton, and then we'll go to David Caravello, and then to Lee. Go ahead right here. Where's the wireless mic, please? Ed, David, Lee.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Roger, over the years, especially in IndyCar racing, you've had an awful lot of awfully big sponsors. You've had some drivers give them a lot of bang for the buck, Rick Mears and the LEO for Marlboro, etc. But have you ever had a driver give your sponsor more bang for the buck than Brad Keselowski did on his live sports interview a while ago, while he was cheerleading the crowd and telling his life story pretty much in good down-home tavern talk?
Well, that's good. I think that I saw him as a great driver, a good tactician. I didn't realize he was commercially viable. I guess he was tonight.
Let's go to David Caravello, and then to Lee Spencer.
David Caravello, NASCAR.com. Paul, it sounded like on the radio in those final laps, you guys really wanted at least 16th to sort of remove any sort of thought that you guys might have backed into that. Was that the case?
Yeah, it was funny. you know, when we pitted there, and Brad came over the radio and asked what position we were in, and I told my my engineers up on the box, communicate between them. I said, you know what he's thinking? He's thinking he wants to finish 15th, because at that point it didn't matter what happened to the 48, and that just shows the dedication and what you know, what this means to him. And sure enough, it wasn't but a few laps later when he came over the radio and said that. And I don't know, we just think a lot alike, and I knew what he was thinking at that point. And I think that as bad as we ran tonight, that made it more special that we were still able to finish 15th regardless of what happened to the 48.
Let's go to Lee. We'll go back to Paul, and then Joe Menzer. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Congratulations. Roger, no one would ever question your dedication in all of this, but when you look at the kind of person that Brad is, does it make you want to just invest yourself even more because you want to get behind this kid because of who he is?
Well, I think, you know, I said it before here, I guess on Friday, it's not how much money you put in your race team, it's all about the people and the human capital, and I guess Brad's right at the top. And when he came in and said, look, I want to help you build a championship team, and he looked me in the eye, shook my hand, and that's how we started. And there's no question that he's delivered, you know, way above what both of us probably thought was possible when you look at the competition and what we have to deal with. But, you know, he's a great leader on our team. You know, obviously I remember I said, I think earlier, that he said, I'm not helping Kurt Busch enough, meaning that he wasn't good enough at that point. But you know, when he took over the leadership of the team, I said to him, you're going to be the leader of this team, and I think that you've seen what's happened. And he hasn't missed a step. He's galvanized the team from the standpoint of the leadership with Paul and the whole team, and I think that never does he miss a day coming in the shop, putting his arm around the guys, and that makes a big difference. You know, you can be a big shot, but you got to get down on the ground and work with the guys that are doing all this work day in and day out. And I guess for me, this is what I love, taking people within an organization and see them flourish, and he certainly has today.
Let's go in the corner to Paul. We'll go to Joe Menzer, Bob Pockris, Jennifer Fryer. Go ahead, Paul.
Roger, it's Paul Kaminsky from CBS News. Over here, Roger.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I
Hey,
know who you are. I just looking to apologize.
Yeah, no sweat. How much of Mark Donohue do you see in a guy like Brad Keselowski? Both great setup in cars, and I mean, Mark got you your first NASCAR victory, and Brad got you your first championship. Talk a little bit about that, because you have a pair of eyes that nobody has. You could see things, you know, that other people, you see further down the road than a lot of us.
Well, I guess when I compare the two, you know, these are guys that, you know, would work in the shop. I remember many nights, you know, Mark Donohue would work all night in the shop, then get in the truck and tow the car to the races. And that's the kind of background that Brad had with his dad and his brother and uncle and what have you. And I think that, you know, Brad has become a technician. I mean, he's he's engineering savvy. Obviously, Mark went to Brown. Brad didn't have that opportunity. But I see them as pure team players. And I think that's the great teams. You look at Jimmy, you look at Jeff, you look at Earnhardt, all these guys that what they built, the camaraderie. Think about Earnhardt Sr., you know, and Childress. You know, these things grow together, and I think that's what we did with Mark, and obviously that's what Brad has been able to do for our team. So I see him a lot like that. That they're the glue, they're the builders.
Let's go with Bob Pockris, Joe Menzer, Jennifer Fryer.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Paul, how dire a situation did you think you were in when you knew you were going to have to pit one more time and Jimmy was leading?
Well, I knew we, you know, it wasn't going to be easy, and you know, we weren't in the best situation we wanted to be in. But like I said before, part of that's just I wish we had a little more speed in our car tonight. I thought we would have, but at the same time, I think we were just being smart, and you know, it wasn't a great feeling. I can tell you that it definitely wasn't. But at the end of the day, like I said, regardless if the 48 went to the garage or not, we were able to overcome that by taking the 4 tires and pitting twice for fuel, and being able to work our way back up to 15th.
Joe Menzer, Jennifer Fryer, Louis Frank.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. This is a simple question for either one of you. What'd you do with Brad?
I'm not sure. They had a lot of people moving us around out there. He's out there somewhere still, probably drinking Miller.
Nah. No, he's doing an ESPN deal right now.
Oh, okay. But on a more serious note, Paul, that when Jimmy came in and topped off, you guys elected to stay out. I mean, you just talked about it a little bit, but how difficult of a decision was that, and were you worried that was maybe going to come back to haunt you?
Well, it was tough. I didn't realize, actually those guys were going to give up all that track position and come pit. So when they all came and we didn't, it was definitely put us in a situation. We felt like there was a pretty good chance of a caution, but it kind of all played out the way it did. So probably wasn't, like I said, wasn't our best race we put together during the chase, but we had great reliability through this chase, and we're able to be around there at the end, and sometimes that's just as important as having a fast race car.
Let's go Jenna Fryer, Lewis Frank, Mike Embry.
Jenna Fryer, AP. I have two questions. I'll ask them one at a time. Roger, now you finally have your first Cup championship. How do you feel? And I mean, how do you feel? Don't give me all this stuff about the organization and how happy you are.
Well, personally, I feel amazing that I've been able to achieve this. In racing, I've awed at the people have been on that stage for so many years. I think in New York and also in Las Vegas, and to be able to join this elite group and say that I'm a champion in NASCAR means a lot. And certainly, it takes, as I said earlier, a lot of people. But I think it took the guts for me to stay in the sport. We could have thought, well, we won the Indy 500 15 times and we're a big deal, but I'll tell you one thing, until you get here and you compete at the top and win it, you really know what's happened. And I think I just woke up here, tonight, and it's a big thrill.
Thank you. And Paul, when you were teamed with Brad, you got a pretty raw driver who was, aggressive, and he sort of built a reputation. You won a nationwide championship with him, and now 3 years later you got a Cup championship. And the stat, if you bear with me, he won it in his 125th start, and the number before that, the only number that beats it is Jeff Gordon, who won it in his 93rd start. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you two are the only two who now have a nationwide championship and a Cup championship. So you've done a pretty impressive stuff together in 3 years. Did you think that you two could do that together in 3 years, a pretty short time, especially considering, as I said, what you got when you got him? He was pretty raw and had a long way to go.
Sure. Well, when Brad and I first got together, part of the reason I was excited about working with Brad was because I'd seen him win races in cars that I thought weren't as good as maybe cars I was putting on the racetrack at the time. And as a crew chief or a team, that's always what you want. You want a guy that can win races when you might not have the best race car out there. So I saw that in Brad, and at that time I'm kind of the guy that takes one day at a time and try to be better each and every day at what I do, and never really looked at it from the standpoint of I want to go win a championship with him. It was I want to go win races and continue to grow as a team, and we've done that each and every week and every year, and now we're rewarded with a Cup championship. So very excited, about what we've been able to accomplish. But I guess when we got together in 2010, I wasn't looking at it from the standpoint of going and winning a Cup championship.
Let's go Mike Embry, then we'll go to the press box, and then we'll come back down. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, Lewis. Let's go Lewis and then press box.
Lewis Frank, Reuters. Roger, it follows on in Jenna's question, but when Robert Yates won the championship with Dale Jarrett, he was a respected engine builder, had won many races in NASCAR and won Daytona 500s. But he said that as an owner, it puts you in a very special club. And I'm wondering if you thought about that, and are you going to change your license plate?
Wow, that's it was head of Indy 1, right? Right. I guess I put NASCAR 1 on it now. I guess that might be right. No, it's a special position to be in as an owner, and obviously, as I said before, it's a goal that I wanted to achieve, and I tried hard. We were close in '93 with Rusty finishing second, and then third in '94. That's a long time ago. The competition has gotten tougher, And I think that any one weekend there's 10 or 15 cars that can win. And I think for us to be able to, have the continuity, and it's a team. We've built a special team here, and I'm proud to be the leader. But on the other hand, we delegate down to people like Mike Nelson and Travis, and obviously Paul and Tim Cindric gets a lot of credit for kind of putting this whole thing together. So when I can be part of that group and then say that we're at the top of the sport in 2012, it's a goal I'm sure everybody wants where they want to be.
Let's go press box.
Viv Bernstein, New York Times. For Roger, I hate to throw more numbers at you, but Brad is, I think, the third guy in the last 28 years to win when he was in his 20s. Jeff and Kurt Busch also were in their 20s, and they won. What do you see in his future? Is this just a beginning? Do you view him as a guy who can, win multiple titles? And I also, I guess, wonder about your future if you're in it for the next long haul as well.
Well, I think you said it. Jeff Gordon's the only one that won the championship at that early age, and you can see he's won multiple championships. And I can tell you this, that Paul already said to me, we got to go to work Tuesday morning and get ready to go next year. So it doesn't take long to have it sink in, and we got to think about the future. So obviously Brad's got not only the raw talent, but I think he's a thinking driver. I think his windshield's bigger than people realize. He knows what's going on and takes care of his car. You could see it on the restarts today. He wasn't going to, go and over-rev the engine, maybe lose an engine because of a valve spring. But I think he's going to be a multiple champion, and I hope that that Paul and the team can continue to grow on the success we had this weekend and this year, and we can go on and do it again. As far as me personally, I guess I'm going to come to the races for as long as I can. I don't have a deadline. I don't have a number. I guess at this particular point, this racing keeps me young. So my number is one I don't talk about, but I need a couple of more championships, sure.
Press box, go ahead. All clear. Let's come back downstairs. I think Mike Embry and then Dean McNulty. Go ahead, Mike.
Paul, the race clicked along for quite a while with you and the 48 both running in the top 10, and there was no space for them to make up that distance. When did you begin to think, okay, those guys are going to do something different, something unusual to try to create at least a possibility of making up the space?
Well, I wasn't really sure. We were kind of holding our own there. I felt around 7th or 8th, and we had a small little hiccup on a pit stop and lost a little track position. And Brad was got back after it after that stop and got ourselves back in the top 10. But it seemed like our car just started to fade there a little bit, and I don't know if that was from him, pushing it real hard, trying to gain back what the spots we had lost in the pits, but at that point, obviously the 48 was slowly working their way to the front, and knew that it wasn't going to be easy, and we continued to work on our car and adjust on it, and we were hanging right around the edge there, but thought we would be much closer to the top 10, but we just kind of got ourselves in the situation we were in, and we got off there, like I said, on that fuel strategy there at the end when they all decided to come down. But with cutting the last run in half basically and coming for tires and fuel, we were able to make some of that ground back up, and I think that was definitely what helped us there at the end.